Perfect.
Yeah.
Yay! It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. I know we just have a which I mean, you know her more than I do. I have just recently met her, so but it's like when you meet someone, you just know them.
Ex- exactly. Exactly. It was funny because when she was telling me about you, I was like, I feel really good about this. Like, I was like, this is like a great combination because I think we all have the same purpose is, healing others and, connecting and being light workers. So I was really excited about this opportunity. So thank you for inviting me to do this.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. Like I was not excited about when my guides told me I had to do it. I was like, no. I guess it was around Christmas, and they kept telling me like, it's great that you want to promote all these other healers that work with you, and like you were really good about filming videos of them and like promoting their stuff, and but who are you? And I'm like, you know, dang it. I just
It's funny how spirit works that way. And I think that you understand, like, it just comes out of the blue sometimes. And it can come at the most inopportune times sometimes where you're like, but I feel like that's when you need it the most.
yes,
When
and like I get it. But then that faith that made me have to work on some issues that I had to work on.
Yeah.
And as a nurse of 27 years, I'm really good at working on you and everyone else.
but but self is very, yeah. And it's funny because I feel like, because Tish was telling me, she was like, you guys are just going to connect that way because I'm ADD, so you probably understand that. But what I love beautiful chaos. Like I have to be in chaos, and my brain
Yeah.
literally works so much better
Yes.
when there is that chaos. And I can think like out of the blue, there'll be like 20 people around me, and they'd be like, oh my God. I'd be like, no, let's stop for a second.
Yeah, my mom's like, how do you do like I can switch topics and be talking about something totally different. My husband's like, well, wait a minute. We were talking about, groceries. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm talking about this now. And, I've always been that multitasker. And I think as a nurse, you kind of have to anyway. You have to be like handling the family, handling the patient, doing your, I don't know. I've always been able to spin plates while I'm playing a song. And, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know any other way to do it.
yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
I'm like that too. And when I get this creative burst, like my guides were telling me about, making some frequency imprinted teas. So like I'm like, okay, all right, let's do it. Well, I didn't just make one or two. I've got like 15 over here.
oh my gosh.
Like in 2 weeks because it's like, okay, like it's kind of like you're making the fries at McDonald's and it's like, okay, what's next?
Let's just do this.
Yeah, let's crash for a week and then like get nothing done. But yeah, back to the whole interview thing. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm sorry, we'll see we did that again.
No, I love it though. I love it.
Yeah, but they were telling me, first of all, I had a fellow healer to tell me when we first met. He was like, it's really cool that you work with spooky too, and that you're a techie healer, like you like work with future tech. But you're not going to need that because you're going to be healing people with your mind in the future. And I'm like, I'm like, okay, he's cute. And then like my guides are telling me like, you have to understand that these are tools, the
Yeah.
sound bed, the frequency equipment, the tuning forks, they're all tools. And they're
Yes.
telling me that you don't understand that you yourself are a healing frequency, that people come to see you.
Exactly.
And when you have self worth and self self-esteem issues, um, coming out of this rising feminine, you're like, you're like, nah. But I'm getting there to understanding that that is exactly how it works. Like every healer is the tool,
Exactly.
but they have access to tools to help them. But
Right.
it's their presence, their frequency, their voice. Um, yeah, and it took me a while to get there to understand that without any of my gadgets and my tools, I've always been a healer. That I've always been able to sit with an individual that I didn't
You
know.
have. You have.
Yeah, and be
I
able to provide some comfort.
I instantly feel that you're a very good listener too. And I feel that you can attune to a person's energy very well. And look at me, I'm instantly going into I've done I instantly do that. Yeah. It's you literally have the same ability that I do, is that you're able to sit and you're clear audit too. I'm instantly getting you get that clear audit and you can hear inside of your mind and you'll have conversations, and it's very common with our type of
Yes,
abilities that we can just sit and listen and hear,
yes.
and we can feel the emotions that are need to be given to that person in that moment with healing.
Yeah. So that's what I was talking to Tish about. Like, I have, we don't come with an instruction manual. It would be so much
No.
easier, And like, I've just had to kind of figure things out, my whole life. And it took me a while to even really figure out that I was an empath. I was talking to a mentor and like we were even talking for months, and she was like, well, wait a minute. You mean you don't know that? And I'm like, well, I mean, you know, uh, who's to say, you are, you're not, I mean, you just question things,
Of course.
and I always, you always think everybody's like you. And then you grow up and then you learn the hard way that no,
Yeah.
everybody has everyone's best interest, and not everyone's as easily honest as you can ask me anything. I'll sit here and tell you, you know.
Me too. I know I'm the same way. I'll tell you everything.
So yeah, it's hard to label, I guess, check boxes and label like who you really are or what you are. And everyone, you can have two different mediums and they function completely different.
Yes.
Um, so it makes it difficult to, I've been told lots of things, and then you sit with it and you're like, really? Because I know that I've had weird things happen to me, like you talked about the hearing. I've had it. I have it more that I just hear my own thoughts and I know they're not mine.
Yep.
But I've also auditorily heard voices that
Yes.
were not here. Now I can't turn it on and off,
No.
but yeah.
I've been actually, so I was born with it. So I was very little, probably about age 2,
Yeah.
when I started hearing and seeing them. And I was very, very blessed with an amazing mother who also has very strong abilities.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and she was very welcoming to hearing what I had to say. And I would see them like in full apparition. And my mom would like, okay, like I understand that. And my father, who is my father, but he's not biological, but he would be like, Carolyn, are you scared of this? And you're like, no, I believe him. And then when I started like, expressing, I would see this and feel this and hear this. And it was there. And she'd be like, no, I see what he's seeing and feel what he's, feeling.
That's great to have that person. For you
Yeah.
to have that person that could confirm what you're seeing and hearing. Because a lot of people that I even know, didn't have that. And
No,
yeah,
no, especially back then, because I was born in 1982 and there was still a lot of, you know,
scared. People.
Yeah, around that. And what was really cool is that when I was 5 years old, my parents had bought their first home. And the gentleman that owned the home was a seance reader. And he moved next door to us, Cliff Mountain. I'll never forget him. And I was so curious about him. And I would bring out the ghosts, well, ghosts is what we called them in Maine, but spirits. And and he would be like, Carolyn, like your son is connected, because he would cleanse and everything, but I would still bring them forward. And my mom got to a point that she would have a hammer and a knife under her bed because I was bringing them all out. And she would walk into the bedroom and see me sitting on the edge of the bed and having full conversations. And she was like, oh my gosh, like he is full on and I don't even know what to do with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank goodness for Cliff that lived next door, because he would come over and say, look at me and go, hold this stone for me, Matthew. And back then I was only 5 and had no idea.
Yeah.
And he would like put all of your energy into the stone, like just hold that stone and lay in bed and fall asleep with it. And I didn't understand until I got older, into my teenage years, that I started hearing all of it. And it was literally like a spinning, all of the voices. And you probably have seen the movie The Sixth Sense.
Yes.
That was my life as a
Right.
teenager. And I would wake up in the middle of the night, sit up in bed, and I would have full blown conversations. And my mother was like, this is a thing. Like this is a big thing.
Yeah.
And when I got into my late teens, and I'm very open and very honest, so it got so bad, April, that I literally attempted suicide when I was 19, because I didn't have anyone to really talk about with that.
Yeah.
And my mother, when she came into the hospital and sat with me, she was like looking at the doctor, was like, he's not crazy. Like this is intense for him. So I went and had treatments, and I started getting involved with a ghost hunting group in my early
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah.
And I became the psychic for that group. And I was so connected to that piece of myself. I was like, oh, this is like what I need. I need this so much.
You needed a purpose and you
I
needed
did.
a channel to put that energy into. Yeah.
Exactly. And I went to Fort Knox up in northern Maine and had the most amazing experience when I was 23 years old. And then I started just going to houses and then to hospitals and to all these places. And then I got heavily involved in tarot.
Yeah.
And the deck that I have is, I've been using the same deck for almost 18 years now.
Oh, wow.
Love my deck. My mother and I both have actually swapped this deck off, sleeping it underneath our pillow, like building the energy up.
Yeah.
And it's called the Handle deck. And it was created, the artist Handle was from 1923, but the deck was created in 1970, early 70s.
Mhm.
And my friends that purchased this deck for me was like, I feel this is very connected to you, and I'll show you the eye from this deck. So this is the cover.
Hang on.
Of this deck. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so every single card has this eye on it.
Yeah.
And it's connected to gods and goddesses, and or even saints throughout history of the world. And for some reason, I was like, this deck and it's kind of like, you've probably seen Hocus Pocus. And it's kind of like the eye from that. It's very connected to me, and I love what it brings out in me.
Yeah.
So I started doing readings in my mid 20s, And
Yeah.
then I went through a very difficult divorce in my um, 30s, and it was very physical. Went through a lot of that, and I went and got into Reiki,
Yeah.
and that,
Again, you needed a channel.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that just changed. So my Reiki master was like, your center is your heart. He goes, you're such a lover, and he goes, your heart feels that green healing energy. And when I work on people,
Hmm.
what I do when I pull energy out of them, because I'm a huge plant nature person, is I pull out that negative energy and I picture seeds floating in the air that turn that into positive energy when I release it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm rambling, but
It's great. Like, um, so I have this weird connection with Oz too, and it is weird, but here we are. So my guides kept talking to me about, the eye and the window to the soul and like all these things. And so I used to do photography. And so they just kept talking to me about the eye and pretty much pushed me into photographing some eyes. Like I started with my son and all this stuff. But what is weird, like I get things in the eye. Like I see spirit, I see weird stuff. So
it's not weird at all. It's not
well,
weird at all.
I love weird. Weird is my normal. Like everybody would talk about, I guess, a normal life, and that's just boring to me. So like this was the first picture I did with my son.
I love that.
Okay.
Beautiful.
And then you look and there's something in the pupil.
Yes,
You see
I
it?
see that. Mm-hmm.
And then there's another face.
Oh my gosh. Yes, right in there.
Yeah. And it reminds me of the movie, of the Disney movie, Inside Out, where
Oh,
they
I love that movie.
have the emotions that's coming through. They're watching everything, they're involved. And that's really how I feel like our spirit guides and stuff like actually do kind of just catch a ride. And there's another one. That was the first one. Like here's one that I got a spirit, the face coming out of the pupil.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
But that just kind of started happening, like, but I love it. And then one day, me and my mom are sitting on the front porch, and she said, "Let's take a photograph." And so you can see this is her eye
Wow.
sitting outside on her porch, and you can see on this side, like it's just like the trees and the posts. And then I get to looking on the other side of her eye.
Oh, wow.
You see,
That's amazing.
like I don't know what that is. There's a lion right here.
Yep. I know. I see it right there.
Looks like Greedo off of Star Wars. I don't know who it is. And then there's this little alien man sitting under the banister. And if you can look, there's more faces and stuff.
I see multiple over here, like off to the side.
Even up here,
Yep.
right there, there's like a bearded man. Yeah, this is what happens when I take pictures.
I'm also feeling too, April, that you're very connected to the other side in a very intense way. Did and you've been through some trauma in your life?
Yeah, I mean different types. I don't know.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
say it's
But
work.
I'm feeling, and that's what builds that piece too. Like you can see things within that trauma, and you learn to understand that. Like
Yeah.
your anxiety actually drives you in that way. And I'm feeling that. Like you're the type that can understand your anxiety and then step outside of it.
Yes,
And
I always tell people I was the nurse that like when the shit hits the fan, like I go into like, we gotta this is what we're taking care of. Like
yeah,
I'm not the freak out nurse.
no,
Like
You're not.
in the days, like I'm like, okay, you go get the bucket, you get the rope, it's like,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I've always been. But long story short, my guides come in and said, which is kind of funny, you start to wake up and you start putting the pieces together. And I remember, like, even 20 years ago, I would lay down to go to sleep at night, and it would be like, who turned the radio on? Like,
Yes.
what is that? And then I would raise up and look around, and there would be like nothing, just completely, And I'd lay back down to go to sleep, and I'm like, so I mean, I always had weird things like that going on. And I guess I would always just turn it off or ignore it at that time. But I started waking up, and then, like, I was paid to have my Akashic records read and all these things.
Oh.
And the first lady that I talked to, she was like, well, your guides are here, and they're telling me that they kind of want to talk to you about this stuff later. I'm like, I just paid you $150, really?
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh, they are. So she said, well, I'll tell you a little bit. And she said, they're telling me that, you're here, your secret mission is to do something for your community. So I'm thinking back then, because I'm really green, and I'm like, am I going to volunteer at the senior center? Like,
right, like, is this something like actually
trash on the side of the road? She wouldn't elaborate. And so now, of course, I've figured out what that is. I opened up a healing center on my property, and I am
amazing
working other healers, and I'm building this community resource, for people to have a place. I kept hearing Seven Sisters one-stop shop.
Oh, I love that.
And what I finally decoded that to me was that, it's not just going to be me and 6 other women. They're telling me that there's different waves of that. And then meet more people, and then those people trickle out to more people. And but they're like, you're networking, you're building this community resource. Because, like, if someone comes to see me and I pick up that, okay, they really need to have a past life regression to really, get some stuff out before I work on them, then I know people, and I would refer that client to someone else, and they do me the same way, because that's what it's about. We all heal differently. Right. Healing is not a one modality thing, as you know. Reiki, there's all types of healing.
There are.
And one person would resonate with probably a healer more than they would this other healer. And so that's what it turns out to be all about, is making these connections, building this group of light workers all over that are helping people. And that's what it turned out to be. But, I guess I can still volunteer at the senior center. But I guess this is what they were talking about. But
That's amazing. That's amazing. I commend you for that. And that is so important to do that, especially, with us light workers. We need to do that. We need to connect on all levels, especially right now. We really, really need to.
And I'm sure it's probably this way in all areas. Healers don't make a whole lot of money, because for me, it was also important to provide healing to be affordable for everyone, not just people that had money. And in the area that I live in, we're close to like, we're in between Nashville and Huntsville.
Okay.
So those places, you might make a little better living as a healer or whatever, but I'm in the rural areas, like Muscle Shoals area.
Yeah.
So, you just can't, I can put $150, $200 price tags out there, but I'm not going to see anybody.
Right.
So it was also important to me to make it about the same as a massage, same as, getting your nails done, that type of price range, because I felt like the average person could afford that.
I agree.
So that's kind of what I wanted to open. But then again, like I wanted other healers to be able to use my building to see other clients
Right.
rent free because they can't afford to go spend $2,000
Yeah.
to rent a building to charge very little to heal people. It just doesn't, A plus B don't equal C. And so yeah, that's kind of like my whole thing is I did the building for myself, but if you're here local and you have a client that you want to see, hey, holler at me.
That's amazing. It's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that you do that. And that's how it should be. Like I feel like that you repay, like my Reiki master always taught me. He was like, sometimes if someone is in need of healing, they may not be able to give you monetary, but I've always felt that when I work on someone or with someone, it gives it back to me. It heals me in a different way too. And I feel that's so important when you're doing work on someone is, you know what? Please let me take all of this stuff from you. But when you're doing that, when you're giving it to me, you're healing me at the same time. We're working together.
Like teach my clients, especially a lot of the people that overgive and are, are nurses, caregivers, that's
Hmm.
I try to help teach them about energetic boundaries. And I'm like, look, I had to teach myself because,
Yeah.
I didn't like saying no either. And so I'll tell them, like, I understand it feels good to do for others. I totally get that. But you're going to have to start saying, hey, if you can't pay me, bring me a coffee next week or,
Yeah.
pick up my laundry or, I was like, I said, blame me. Tell them, hey, I can't do it for you anymore unless you buy me a coffee. Just whatever you got to do to get in that habit because it's like coming from someone who never asked and never received well. Um, it's very important. And
Yeah.
I don't think that the gifts that I have been able to work with, I would have been as successful as I had not learned to love myself first.
So important.
And
You have to.
I struggle still with
We
that.
all do.
Yeah.
We all do. It's an everyday learning thing with that.
We're like, look, you need to be seen, you need to be heard, and just don't watch the video if you don't like it.
Example.
Well, all right.
And it comes down to compassion and respect and understanding. Like like if
Mhm.
like all of my walks with mediums and meeting so many of them in my life is that we're all different. People are different, period. It doesn't matter, but it's having that compassion behind it of like, hey, I know you need a little help right now. I may be struggling, but I
Yeah.
can still offer this to you. And that's the importance of the emotions, and it's lacking. It's so lacking. And
Mhm.
that's all of us that are light workers. That's the most important piece of, you know what? I'm tired today, but
Mhm.
my guides are telling me, spirit is telling me that I can give you a little bit just to help you get through your day. And that's so important because after I do that with someone, I feel so much better.
Like I didn't understand. It would be okay. It would be like it's been so crazy this ride that I've been on. But I would be doing my energy work on a client, and of course, when you meet someone, they don't really tell you that they have abilities or not.
Right.
I had one lady laying there, and she was just looking at me, just looks like this, and I was like, okay. And she said, why is there an Indian man holding a fox brushing your hair?
Oh.
I don't know, but I think the fox has been here since lunch because his mother's email address was Foxhound Farms,
Oh, I love that.
And I'm like, so I think he just decided to hang out. But she saw him, which I can't see like that.
Right.
I kind of knew that I was having help. So for me, that just kind of was, added confirmation that, okay, I am sensing that there is other people here helping me do the work. And she was able to just kind of confirm that for me. And then another lady that could see energy had her eyes closed, and she said, "I saw your hands working on me." And she said it was like green energy, but in the shape of
Yep.
hands. And then she said, and all of a sudden, about 4 or 5 hands were over me. And I opened my eyes, and you were sitting over there in the chair. And I'm like, yeah, because they told me to sit down, but they had it. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
it
I
was
love that.
it was just really cute to have those. And they probably sent me those clients that could give me that confirmation,
Yeah.
um, that I was interpreting and feeling, sort of correctly, but yeah, so that's kind of been my journey. Is I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just getting up and doing it, and
You're amazing. I can feel that you're on this ball, this great energy ball, and just keep going with it. And
yeah,
I'm literally feeling that in my chest right now is you just need to keep going with that feeling. And spirit's gonna guide you in
yeah.
that direction.
And, they made my equipment quit working on one client, and they said they did it so I would get up. Like standing there, like, oh crap, what am I going to do? And I just kind of started doing energy work, and I've never been trained. I have other healer friends that are trained in Reiki and stuff, but I had this where I would do this kind of work
Yep.
across
Yeah.
clients, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I just kind of fell into it and just let them kind of guide me. Um, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with that. Other healers that I show them what I'm doing, some can see energy, some can, or just tell me I'm fixing meridians, and I'm infusing this, and I'm clearing that, and I'm like, okay. Because I don't know, I feel into it, and it's almost like I'm a puppet, I'm just that middleman.
But it heals you. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's very good for you. Like it brings out a lot inside of you, and that's what it should do. It's supposed to be our calling, and we're built different. We're so built different. Like we don't get sick too often, and when we get sick, it's something's off, and it usually has to do with some sort of like mentality that we're stuck in, or we're doing too much.
Yes,
And
that's what happens with me.
yeah,
I don't rest when I'm supposed to.
yeah.
I've gotten a lot better at spiritual hygiene. They've already fussed at me a lot about that. My grandmother is actually my oversoul. And so she steps in. She's pretty much got the clipboard with my guides, and
I love that.
like she,
And I felt the female. I was like, there's a female family member. I was like,
she's with me all the time, and she's very bossy. And
I
my
have one like that too.
yeah, one of my healers was actually working on me, and he can hear spirit, and he was like, "Your grandmother's here, and she's telling me, okay, that's enough of that. Now let's do this." And he was like, "I got it."
Like I can do this. It's fine.
Like, okay. And actually, she wanted him to come and grid out the building. And he told her he had a whole day full of booked clients that he didn't have time. And she said, "Well, April needs to be protected. Like this needs to be today." And so he starts getting text messages, and she canceled all his clients.
Oh wow.
They all started texting and like rescheduling. And so he just pulls up one day, and I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Your grandmother." And I'm like, sorry, because she is like that. She wants something done. She wants
Yeah.
it now. She don't need tomorrow.
I love that. And that's so important. Like when you have that connection with
Yeah.
a family member, they like my godmother
Hmm.
She is the same way, my aunt Chris. And my whole entire life, I lost her when I was 27 years old, but she has always been there.
Yep.
And she will go, no, Matthew, no, like we're gonna do this, we're gonna move forward. And
Yeah.
my specialty is working with people that have lost someone through suicide.
Okay.
So I've always had such a deep connection
Hmm.
with clients that have lost someone to that. So the coolest experience, the most amazing experience I've had was back in February of last year. I had a wonderful person reach out to me that had lost a friend back in November of 2024
Hmm.
to suicide.
Hmm.
And they had romantic connections, but they were also very good friends for a long time. And I literally had him sitting in my car a week before I did the reading. And I reached out to her and I said, Ryan was sitting in my car on my way to work. And she goes, I didn't tell you his name was Ryan. And I said, no, no, you didn't.
They did.
And yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And he was having full conversation with me. So this is how intricate this whole experience gets. So my partner was like, Matthew, I see him sitting in the chair. And I said, what does he look like? So he's also intuitive.
Okay.
And he also does, we actually, during the summer in Maine, we go to like so many cemeteries and do connection with spirit all the time. So, anyways, he explains, what he looks like, and he was like, he was in the army. I said, yes, he was. So we sat down, we did this reading. I read her, and then I read his best friends, his first ex-wife, his second ex-wife, and then the first reading, just to back up, I said, there's three children. And she goes, no, there isn't.
Hmm.
And I said, there were three children. He had a child when he was much younger before
Hmm.
you came into the picture. And she was like, okay. So she reaches out to the first ex wife, finds out there was.
Yep.
And I literally read all four of them consecutively. And the amount of healing that was done in that experience was the most amazing thing in my heart. And I also work with women's health. I'm very big into connecting to feminine energy
Hmm.
and working with that healing. Because, as you know, it's different. When you have that type of feminine energy, it's a different type of healing sometimes. And men have it too, but it literally healed that whole line
Hmm.
all the way down. And I felt so at peace with the work that I did with that. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to help heal that line.
Yeah. It's like there's something in the mitochondria, scientifically that actually connects you, the woman's line, in the DNA.
Exactly.
So
Right.
that's cool.
And I think it's the coolest thing ever. And like I've always been so connected to feminine because I have a lot of feminine energy myself, but I also have my masculine. And it's funny because I'll tell my girlfriends, they're like, well, you're a man. I'm like, yeah, but I'm 75% woman. It's fine.
We're all got, I'm very feminine, but then I
Right.
embrace the fact that I am independent and I am, I got a lot of masculinity of, I don't need nobody.
Yes, you right, and you do, and that's where mine comes into play. It's that independence side. Like I've got that pride. Like I'm good. Like I can do this, and I feel like there's a balance that happens too with your abilities in that regard. Like you bring it out more with certain things, and it depends on the situation and with the person.
I do
Um,
like, I've recently actually figured out a lot of like my likes are tied to past lives. Like for instance, this one's funny. When I was little, I loved Xanadu. Like, oh
Yes.
my, like watching.
Olivia Newton-John, yes.
But then, like, now I understand my soul was recognizing, oh, look at her yellow aura. And oh, look, he's got a blue one. And oh, look, there's a green one. I tried to watch it as an adult, and I'm like, God, this sucks.
Me too. I did the same thing because when we're children, we're like, oh, wow, like this is so cool. And then we're like, okay, wait a minute.
But I understood as a young child, that the reason I was so drawn into it was because I recognized something, you know. So,
Right.
and I always wondered, like, oh, I know my grandmother had these fears, but then never was a story of like how she got those fears. It didn't happen in this lifetime. And so, like, those things were real interesting to me. Just like how I used to love had this book on sign language, and now I'm sitting here, doing
Yes.
light language with my hands, and so it's like I'm starting to connect. I kind of feel like it's like a choose your own adventure book almost like this year, and you're reading the story on you, and then you get to like decide, do I go to the mall or do I go into the woods? And turn to this page and like, oh, what happens? And so that's
exactly.
and that's kind of how I feel, not just with me, but like all of my clients, when you're seeing them wake up and you're watching them realize that there's this bigger story to who they actually are than they ever realized. And that's what I told someone. I was like, I'm 50, be 58, no, 59 this year. I'm sorry, 49 this year. I was like, if this is a midlife crisis, this is wonderful. Like, I didn't know it was going to be so much fun.
Yeah. I feel like in our 40s, because we all go through a lot. We have to have a level of growth that happens to
Yeah.
us. And it's like when you hit your 40s, and I remember turning 40, and it was like the switch. Like I had it prior in different areas, but when I hit 40, I was like, wow, like what is this happening? And when you embrace it,
Yeah.
and it changes your outlook on everything. And that's the most amazing gift about it. And the other thing that I do is spiritual coaching with people, especially working through depression. And I work with a lot of clients that have seasonal depression because we have it so bad up here in the Northeast.
Yeah. When you told me it was still snow up there, I instantly got depressed.
Well, and we also have the highest rate of lower rates of vitamin D or lack thereof of vitamin D. So what I do is I do a lot of color work with people in introducing that back into their system. So I'm also a medical intuitive. So I literally can pinpoint, and my partner laughs at me every time because we'll be out in a store. I'm like, that person's dealing with severe diabetes. And he's like, do that all the time. And I can't help it. I can't help it. And I try to turn it off sometimes. And because, you have to be in a mode of like, don't. But
and I'm a nurse, so I'm just as bad. Like, we went to a gas station and this woman was so pale, and I was like, it was screaming in my head, don't ask. And I'm like, have you had your blood checked?
Because like it's so funny because my mother was a cancer nurse for many, many, many years. And so I think I learned, and her mother was also a CNA and a CRMA forever. So I grew up in it, and I just felt things from people that way. And when someone, even like when he has a certain like itch on his skin, like, let me look at that real quick.
But I've learned like that healer in you've probably been a nurse in a past life.
Yeah.
I mean, they were telling me when I was talking to my guides that I predominantly have been a healer and a nurse and a witch and a this.
Yes, you have.
Over and over. That's my jam. And I've been a few other things, but that's what I've chose to. That's my playground that I've chose to work in. And they were also, when I had, of course, I told you I had when I first woke up, I was paying all these people to just tell me all these things because I wanted to know.
Yep.
And they were like, oh, well, you have a lot of angelic DNA. You're a cherub. You're cherub. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
So interesting.
I would be the fat baby. I'm like, of course, that makes so much sense. It's like saved my life.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
It's funny because I feel like, a lot of the mediums that I've met, I had one in particular that I went to, and she was lovely in regards to like her energy and the reading. And I had told her, I said, I'm also, in touch with my abilities this way. And it turned around that we both started reading each other, which was so much fun.
Yeah,
I love doing that. And I was like, let's do this together and you learn from each other. Because I feel like it's really hard to read yourself sometimes. And I think that's supposed to be that way. We're not supposed to be able to read ourselves.
yeah.
Um,
Because I
but
was
I feel like we can connect to, spirit, and spirit will tell us what we need to know in that moment. So,
and it was just funny because I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, I was asking like so many questions, and finally the girl that was talking to me said, "Okay, I'm just gonna have to tell you this. They're just telling me that I've got to be the bad guy," and I'm like, "Okay, what?" And she's like, "Your abilities and these things are not gonna happen any sooner than what you set it, in the contract for it to happen. Like you can meditate all day long and you can." I was having my little 2-year-old Kmart fit, like wanted it now. You know, I woke up and it's like, forget all those years I ignored y'all. Come back. I want
right.
And yeah, I had to really just be set down and told like you're not going to get anywhere faster than what you've already dictated for yourself. So just take a chill pill. And I don't know why, because I have so much fire. I'm an Aries. I have so much fire that yeah, that just kind of settled me down to just be like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna have to sit here and wait. I'm in time. But yeah, there for a while, when you first wake up and, there's that excitement of, and you want to know it all. You want to know who you been, where you been, where you come from, what can you do,
Yeah.
and that was so wonderful, but so frustrating at the same time, just like her telling me, well, they don't want me to tell you today. So yeah, it's an exciting trip,
It
and
is.
having such a good time, just meeting you and everyone else.
Oh, it's so much fun. And
It
that's what it's about. It's building community. It literally is building a community
is.
and connecting and really like honing in on everybody's different abilities. Because like as you were saying earlier, we are all so different in what we can bring to someone. And that you can feel like, oh, well, this person would do really well with them or vice versa. And that's important to have that.
And just like you said, you've experienced things in your life that's made you gravitate towards certain types of healing and certain types of work, like this
Exactly.
stuff. And where I'm more, I think, pulled towards these caregivers, these nurses, these women that have been toting the load for so long and never
Hmm.
ever giving back to themselves. I feel like that's pretty much what attracts to me.
Yeah.
Is because I still struggle with it, but I feel like I've made enough progress that I can see both sides of the fence and I can try to convince
Okay.
one that it why is it so hard to do self-care?
Oh my gosh. It is the worst thing. Tish and I talked about that because we were on the phone for an hour and a half the other night. And
Yeah.
because like it was so funny because her and I literally have not met one another in person,
Mhm.
and we met one another on the psychic group
Yeah.
on Facebook, and we just hit it off, and we were like, oh my gosh, we knew each other in
Mhm.
a past life. Like we literally just picked up from day one, and just we'll have conversations. She'll be like, call me, or
Yeah.
I'll say, call me, and
And that's kind of how we talk. Like, I thought one day I was like, how did we even meet? Like, we started, like texting each other, and like, she would offer to help me with my mediumship, and like I'm offering to help her with some things, and
yeah,
we don't really know each other, but then you do. Like, I think all of us that are doing what we're doing right now are on a mission, and we recognize
we are.
each other. And I remember the first time I sat in a room with other people that had abilities. I mean, I literally was
Yeah. Oh
like,
yeah. It's
because we're so used to, I guess, having to tone down who we really are, over
hmm
people. Um, and I don't really do that anymore, but I do respect other people's beliefs. And so if they come
of course.
and there's certain things they're not comfortable with, then I respect that, and we'll stay. They don't want to get under the crystals. Okay,
Yeah. No, of course.
that's fine. I don't really understand where they make crystals made it into the devil worshiping community.
Oh, I know.
But okay, because it is important for people to
It
respect
is.
for people to respect me and my beliefs, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with doing that, but some of them are a little entertaining. But
It, usually what I do too, and I don't know if this will help you, April, if you probably have this available to you, is that I try to have certain tools available for all different walks of that type of spirit, and I assume you probably do too.
I do
And
just
yeah,
fill it out before they even come in. Usually, I
yeah.
have to tell within the first 5 minutes if they start bringing up things and talking about things, and I'm like, okay, well, I got the green light on this, and I'm really huge in like galactic history. So
That's awesome.
that's not something I can talk about with just anybody either. That's kind of a whole different level.
Yeah,
But
I love that.
but I just I love it. I just love it all, and I'm excited and just want to
Yeah,
introduce everybody and like promote everybody. And I myself love to get on YouTube and watch conversations
yeah,
like.
me too.
So that's kind of what, when my guides were telling me to do the frequency hour, I was like, at first, the first couple of ones I did, it was like me getting on here and like having a conversation about spiritual hygiene or color therapy or whatever. And I was like, God, this feels like work. Like, I've got to like write down what I'm going to talk about, and like,
It should be candid. It should be relaxed,
and then I started doing it this way, and I was like, God, this is it. Like, this is the energy, this is the fun, this is the rawness of it.
exactly
We text a little bit, but like, I like to just get on here and be like, hell, you're awesome. Tell me what you do, and like,
right.
tell me all about it and how people can get a hold of you, and like us just have this back and forth energy. And that has just been fun. This has not been, my husband's like, how many people are you interviewing this week? And I'm like, I got about 3 or 4. And he's like, what? And I'm like, well, this is fun.
But it's also like energy exchange, and that's the thing. Like it's that whole like you're connecting with someone that understands it, and you're healing at the same time as you're talking, and you're expressing,
Yeah.
what your abilities are, and it's just amazing. It's important to have that community.
But I just felt like for the ones that are just now getting curious, they're more inclined to see something like this
Yes,
and feel into it before they are to make an appointment with me or you or someone
I
else.
agree.
And so that's kind of what was behind doing it this way. Like, I want people to see that we're just like anybody else, that
Yes.
this is not something that you have to be afraid of, um, and just kind of get an insight of what that looks like, what it feels like, what it, how much, how beautiful it can be.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, there's one funny thing that happened when I first started, myself venturing into going to a psychic and to a medium, because, there was a time where I had not done that. And me and my mom were at my barn, and we were looking at this old Ringer washing machine, and it was my grandmother's. And we were like, what am I going to do with this? Because in my yard and putting flowers in it. But she'll kill me if I get rid of it. We're having this conversation. And so me and my mom had a reading the next night. So we were on Zoom, and the medium's talking to us, and she's like, okay, there's a female here, and okay, she's your grandmother, and she's doing this like she's rubbing clothes on her scrub board. And I went, oh shit, she knows. I was like, because I could just imagine her like, I know what you're doing.
I love it.
I want other people to experience that,
Right.
There was every cell in my body knew at that moment, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. So I'll have to tell you about a similar experience I had when I was 28 years old. So I had a friend of mine that had a friend of hers that was going through a really bad breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, she wants to have a reading. And I said, sure, absolutely. So we went over to her house, and we're sitting there, and I'm doing tarot reading. And she was constantly the whole time bashing on him negatively, which I was just kind of, going with it and focusing on the reading. And I said, I'm seeing this Jeep and this bucket of acid being poured on top of it. And she gets up and throws the chair aside and walks out of the room. And I went, did I do something wrong? And she starts swearing, and she goes, how did you see that? How did you know that? No one knew that it was me that I did that. And I went, oh no. And I was like, and my friend Karen looks at me, and she was like, oh, Matthew. And I was like, this is what I'm doing. So she literally goes, wow. Wow. She goes, I did not tell anybody that I was the one that did that. And I said, yeah, it is. It's funny how that will come up, because like you don't know, like, and I didn't know this woman at all.
And you're like, okay, I've lost my mind because this is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I literally was, and what's funny, and you probably do the same thing sometimes, is when you're in that connection moment, of course, there's a form of cleansing that happens after that. So that way you're shutting off, all connection from spirit and cleansing yourself. But you still think about it, and you're still like going, what part of me? Where was I pulling this from? Like,
I know. It's just so, I don't know. Like I said, I just feel like I've opened up this book, and I'm able to like learn about me.
yeah.
And help other people understand more about them. And even as a nurse, of all these years that I've been a nurse, this is something on a different level.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it's just there's no doubt in my mind I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
You definitely are.
I may not know what I'm doing. But I'm showing up, I'm here, and I'm doing it, and I love it. I'm patiently waiting for all of these things to come towards me when I designated them to come. But until then, I'm just still playing with my tools and doing what I'm led to do. And it's just been beautiful. I mean,
That's amazing. And that's what it's supposed to be. It's a different experience, every time. And I'm very focused on, especially here in Maine, we have the Four Seasons hardcore plus six more. So we go through the change that happens. And I was teaching my partner in February, so there's Groundhog's Day,
mhm.
but it's also Imbolc. So it's when, the earth is starting to take in water once again, and the earth is starting to come alive. And ever since I was very little, I could see tree auras. I'm very connected to nature. So what I do full time, April, is I am a customer service manager for a seed company. So we sell vegetable, flower, herb seeds called Pine Tree Garden Seeds. And I've been doing this for 6 years, and I love my job. And during the summertime, I'm out in all the trial beds. So I'm always touching plants. I'm out in nature. And I was teaching my partner about tree auras and how they come alive in February, especially up here in the Northeast. And every different type of tree has a different color to it. And I remember being very little and seeing all the colors. And he was so intrigued. And it was like, how do you see them? And I said, you just close your eyes, not while you're driving, but you close your eyes. Right? And you just look at the trees and you feel it and you can see it when your eyes are closed. I said, but I remember that was always the first sign for me that spring was coming after a very long cold winter. And this year was actually one of the worst winters we have had probably in 6 years, the
Yeah.
coldest, snowiest. And when I started seeing the tree auras, my heart was like, oh, thank goodness.
Um, I had my first Reiki session about 2 years ago, and while I was on the table with my eyes closed, I started seeing colors. And I'm laying there, and I'm like, like, um, and I've been able, to see them ever since. So I have a question about that. So when I have my eyes closed and I'm seeing the swirls of colors, am I seeing my own energies from the child?
So that's a very good question. So it could be emotional energy at the same time.
Okay.
So it depends on what your personal focus is as the person that's receiving the work being done to them. So if I'm working with a client and they may not always tell me verbally what they're needing, but I can feel it from them, is that may be attributed to a specific color.
Okay.
So your subconscious may actually create that color as your form of healing internally within yourself. And I've learned that, like, it also could be attributed to a memory, like a positive memory. It could be attributed to your favorite color. But when you start seeing colors, you also may be seeing beyond that in
Well,
another dimension too.
like I can see your aura and it's green.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a lot of the times that I see is just with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
But then you get into color therapy, and like I'm a frequency technician, so like
Right.
you learn that frequency in sight is color,
Exactly.
and frequency in sound is music notes. So, but I was just wondering, like, because it is mainly the green and the blues and the purples that I see. Um, if it was like I was seeing my actual chakras or
So you're seeing your, so I will tell you that one thing that I teach is ground, center, and shield.
okay,
And what that means, also with, within your abilities, but also in Reiki, is that you always want to ground yourself, as you know,
mhm,
when you do any sort of work. may it be for yourself, but also the person you're working on, is you want to connect to Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is green normally. And that's the number one healing color, as we know. So the other is to find your personal center.
Mhm.
So for myself, it's my heart. So the heart is normally within that nice, bright, healthy green color, is
Right.
what you're going to see. And but other people may have third eye, crown, whatever their connection is.
Yeah.
And then shielding. Your shield can change. And I love this when I teach this with people is that when you see your shield in that moment, it could be the sun rising, it could be trees growing up around you, it could be mountains going up around you. It depends on what spirit is needing to give you in that moment or what you're dealing with in that moment.
Mhm.
And I always recommend to everyone, and I'm still working with my partner on this, is it's so important to do that every morning when you wake up. Before you even have a cup of coffee, before you even have your first drink of water, is to ground, center, and shield.
Yeah.
And the colors could be something you're feeling. Like you may change it with the seasons. Like, for example, did you know that actually the number one color that most people that are most uncomfortable with that I have found is yellow. Because yellow is attributed to trauma in a lot of cases. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I had the most difficult time with yellow when I was younger. But as I grew older, I found that yellow actually became one of my most favorite colors.
Yeah. Well, and once you learn, like even with the T line that I've created, I did the seven chakras, and of course, when I did the solar plexus, it just popped in my head. I'm going to name it the rising sun. You know,
Exactly.
and but then you realize, why doesn't everybody like yellow? Because that's their confidence, that's their powerhouse. Learn about it, you know. But so many people don't. It's like I don't know if we've been conditioned to maybe
We have.
us from being being confident. But yeah,
Yeah.
when a lot of people tap into my, I don't know if it's my aura they're tapping in or something else, but they're always talking about the blue. And there's a bluebird that literally will not leave me alone in this building. He's always at the window, tapping on the window, and um, but I just didn't know if I was seeing my own or if that was more. I didn't even think about the emotion, and all
It,
that.
yeah, it's emotion based. And that's the thing that is so difficult for people to deal with during Reiki sessions is,
Yeah,
the emotion because it brings out the emotion.
yeah,
And when you're focusing on, because I work a lot with the sacral and the solar plexus, and that's where the confidence piece is based, within those two. And exactly. And when there is a blockage there, it's going to block the heart. It's going to block the voices. So it's, trying to find that flow. And my favorite piece is when I'm able to pull that blockage out and I hear them go, and I'm like, yes, like I literally felt it release, and that is my most favorite piece. And they don't realize it
yeah,
until after the session. And I was like, don't sit up right away because it's going to be very, intense because you're going to go, wow, I'm actually flowing in a whole different way.
yeah.
And I give them pieces in education on how to keep that flow going afterwards too. And I feel that's very important because as you know, we can definitely be
Close it right
the
back.
exactly, and please come back. And I tell them like, please come back because it's not always going to be one session. In some cases, it could be multiple,
Yeah,
but with those multiple sessions, I can give you the tools to be able to move forward.
yeah. I use of course, like I said, I'm still learning too. So mine's more of I guess spirit guided sessions. All my sessions seem to be a little different. but I will use a pendulum to like check people's blocks and stuff, and
Yes.
gotten good at that. But you're off to feel like on another level where you don't even need the pendulum; you can just feel into it.
Yeah, and I usually do, and I'm very, big on color. Like I can see a person's color inside of them, and I'm just like, this is the color you're dealing with. Like one of my best friends at work, I worked because I also teach Reiki sessions and I'll do attunements as well.
Yeah,
And I had worked with her on her first attunement, and I told her, I said, let's give, because she wanted all three of them. I said, I'm not doing all three attunements on you all at once. I said, it's a lot for you, and it's also great to just be in the attunement for a period of time. And I usually recommend 3 to 6 months and even more time, but do the work involved with that.
yeah,
And she was like, "Oh my gosh, Matthew." She goes, "What I'm feeling and seeing and hearing and colors." And I was like, "That's what it's supposed to be. Like you bring it into you. It's about healing yourself before you heal others. You need to heal internally, but we're still going to have our trials and tribulations that happen throughout that time, period, is that you need to step back and do self-care. And Tish and I were talking about like that's the worst thing for those of us that do this work. I have a very difficult time with doing self-care, but I have found my number one self-care is cooking. Like I love to cook, and when I need to heal or have a moment of peace and solidarity, I love to just
remember the very first time that I practiced some self care in this way. Like, okay, I'm going to call them Susie because I'm not going to call them. Hey, can you go pick up something for me? In this town that's like 30, 45 minutes away. And I'm like, and I remember stopping because the old me would be like, yeah, sure, tell me where I'm going. And I remember like stopping and being like, hey, not really. Yeah, it's not going to work for me today. Oh God, that feels good.
Yeah.
Like, and then she called back the next day because apparently I needed a second go at it. And so I did it again, and I was like, hang on a minute. And I was like, want to go today? Are you going there? No. Do you want to go? No. No, I'm not going today either. And I was like, why did I wait 50 years to do this? It's wonderful. And because I was like, why is it so hard to just check in with yourself and be like, is this going to cause you grief and distress and like, or is this something that you could actually do for someone that's, not going to put you out? And for so long, I wouldn't take those few minutes to check in with myself.
Right.
I would just instantly like start asking like, where am I going? Who am I? And yeah, that was just it was great. And then I just started doing more and like, okay, what do you want to do today? Do you want to do this or do you want to, like you said,
Yeah.
And just those little bitty steps, it was really wonderful. And I remember 10 years ago, somebody asked me like, what do you do for fun? What's your hobbies? And I was like, laundry, because I did. Like, I only went to work and I only took care of my family. And like, I really, now that I look back on it, I existed through them. I didn't really have my own identity.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
And so many, that's going back to like talking about the women that I feel that come to me are those people.
Yeah.
And they don't have an identity. They don't have a hobby. And they don't even know where to begin.
Exactly.
So the trauma and stuff that I feel like I've been through has been a beautiful journey to get me to a place where I can help other people.
It is.
That's what healers do. They go through the crap themselves and then they heal themselves enough to turn around and then extend a hand to someone else. And That's what it's all about.
Exactly. I remember when I told Tish, so I have a huge connection to Karen Carpenter,
Mm-hmm.
and I had dealt with 18 years of bulimia in my life. And I was on my deathbed when I was in my early 30s
Oh.
from that. And my mother also suffered from bulimia. We actually, neither one of us knew that we both were dealing with that at the same time. And my mom, because she was so protective, my father knew about it, but she didn't want us knowing about it growing up.
Yeah.
And I started having severe problems with it when I was in my late teens into college. And I was hospitalized my first time in my early 20s and literally dealt with it all through my 20s into my 30s and went to treatment for the last time in when I was 32. And I remember going, I don't want my story to end like hers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be in that situation where I lose my life. And I want to live. And I'm a good person and I want to help others.
Mm-hmm.
So after that happened, I started working a lot with people who suffer with eating disorder, may it be from bulimia to anorexia to binge eating disorder to obesity. And because I've dealt with all of it in my life. And it's a whole different level of emotional
Mm-hmm.
suppression. And, what I try to do when I work with anyone who's going through that is you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my coaching comes in. The spiritual coaching is that you need to find yourself. You need to find what your center is and really hone in on that. And don't pay attention to all of the other noise. You got to
Yeah.
have your own noise.
Yeah.
So I work with people a lot on that too.
And then probably also finding out that the things that you're going through, you probably went through in other past lives as well. And we continue to repeat things that we don't heal. So,
Exactly.
it's just like I said, and then, me opening my eyes to spirituality and just going on this journey of finding out who I am, I've found so much of who other people are. And yeah, I'm not a religious person because religion puts people against each other, and
Exactly.
I'm not I'm not for anything that does that. Um, I don't want to choose Democrat or Republican or red or blue.
Not how it should be.
I
No.
just don't believe that. I want to. I've always been able to. I made this joke that when my daughter was a teenager, I would talk to strangers in town because they were nice to me.
I love that so much.
I was practicing. I'm really good at striking up conversations with complete strangers, and but I just didn't know that my guides knew that she's going to need to practice this because she's going to be doing this in the future. But I just thought I was trying to survive the teenage years, and you, I've always had this ability to connect, even with my nursing skills. I don't feel like I judge people. It's just not in me.
No.
And I can go to a jail and sit down at a table with a group of men, and you don't even have to tell me if they've murdered someone or what. I will talk to those people and probably end up, with being pen pals or something. I just have always been able to do that.
Right.
And, and my guides tell me that's something that didn't come natural. That's something that I have developed by choosing to come in as a healer and a nurse, and like I've developed that skill of connecting to people. And but that's just my joke that I've developed that by having to talk to strangers when my daughter was being so hateful. But yeah, I mean, I love that. I love that I can be a safe place for someone to tell me things they've never told anyone. Um, You know,
And that's my favorite thing too, is being a safe place. And I'm sorry, you're probably hearing all my animals right now because it's treat time. So I'll
well, I won't keep you much longer, but we're definitely going to have to do this again.
yeah. I've so much enjoyed this. I feel, oh my gosh, has it really been almost an hour and a half? No, it's actually, I feel, and that's what I love about this. Like, I feel like when you can just have natural, candid banter with someone, and I will tell you this, like on an ending note, is my mother would always laugh because I would always get lost in grocery stores, and she would find me all the time just talking to a person, and she goes, Matthew, what if that person took you away? But mom, they were so nice to me. And I,
my talking about my daughter, I would always tie, like, you know, when you go in the grocery store, there'd be balloons, you know. I would always tie a balloon around her wrist because
oh,
I always wandered off and I would always have it really tall. So I would look and I would see the balloon going down the aisle.
I love that so much.
Yes, you know. But yeah, I love her. We just, you know, we're me and her are a lot alike. It's just that I'm on my spiritual journey and she's not. But
Right.
she's in her 20s and I'm in my late 40s, and I wasn't on my spiritual journey at her age either. So,
Exactly.
you know, we all have to have respect for each other's journey. And so
Yes.
I'm doing my thing, she's doing hers, and that's okay, you know?
Exactly. That's how it should be.
Yeah, it is. Well, all right. Well, I have enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, you too, April. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I loved it so much.
Well, let's tell everybody how they can get a hold of you if they would like a reading, and again, one more time, what all that you offer.
So I actually offer so many different opportunities. So I work mainly with Reiki and Tarot, but I also offer opportunities if someone wants to connect with a loved one that has passed or is in the process of passing and they're not able to actually speak with them verbally. I also work with families that have someone that is passing or is in hospice work too. So they need to actually try to give them a message or help them pass on. I've done that many times as well. I also work with people that have lost family members or friends or loved ones to suicide. Also, I work with nature based healing. So I'm very big on earth energy, connecting to earth, pulling Mother Earth into you and helping her heal you. I'm also very big on spiritual guidance. So if you're needing some sort of like, I just don't know where I fit in, I'm very big on like helping you sort through that or sorting through a big, issue in your life. Could it be, financially? Could it be something where you're just stuck within yourself with career? I
Yeah.
help you, guide through that piece of it as well. And right now I'm working.
Yeah, I feel like right now that's going to be huge this year. There's going to be a lot of people needing with what's coming.
Yeah.
They're going to need someone to help them figure out whether to turn right or turn left. So,
And that's what I'm feeling as well, and I completely agree with you. And I feel too that it's don't panic, and I'm feeling a lot of that as well as like let's just sort through instead of that initial fight or flights. It's drawing back and going. You're feeling this because right now we're in Mercury retrograde. So, and this is a big one because it's the one at the beginning of the year. So, feeling that pull can be very intense when we're heading into a new year. So it's focusing on, what are your goals for the year? Don't sign anything, but let's let's focus on your goals. So you can currently find me on Facebook, and there's also this new app too. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, April, called Hipsy. It's brand new, and it is you can literally go on and offer any of your services. And I'm working on building up my Instagram. I actually have another friend of mine that is out of Colorado that I met through the psychic group that I told you about on Facebook, and she is very techie, and she's like, "Let me help you build up your connection on Instagram." So she's been helping with that as well. So
Well, I also have a section um, on my website, which is shellshealingfrequencies.com, that I have a link to like all the other people that like the healers and the hypnotherapists and the Reikis.
oh, great.
But I usually keep a little, it's like a big wall with everybody click in and find people because like that's what it's all about. It's all about networking and working together.
Yeah.
So if you'll shoot me all your information, I'll make sure I put everything in the YouTube information box so they can find you, and we'll
Great.
share this lovely conversation with the world.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, April. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great evening.
I will, and I'll be talking to you soon. Okay.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye, Matt.
Bye.